In the dusky light of early evening, the city's outskirts mingled with untamed wilderness, creating a boundary where modernity and ancient magic collided. Ira, a skilled herbalist and healer known for her deep connection with nature, walked along a narrow trail lined with whispering pines and rugged boulders. Every step she took resonated with a memory of ancestral wisdom, and the cool air carried the soft murmurs of forgotten incantations. Tonight, however, an unsettling premonition tugged at her heart, a whisper of destiny that hinted at both passion and peril. Era's eyes, dark and reflective like a calm lake under a full moon, scanned her surroundings with acute sensitivity. The scent of wild sage and pine mingled with the faint aroma of city life in the distance. She felt a pull, as if guided by the spirits of her foremothers, drawing her deeper into the forest. As she moved, her thoughts turned to her past. A tapestry of love lost, secrets hidden behind the smiles of family, and the constant struggle to uphold the delicate balance between tradition and the modern world. Unbeknownst to her, fate was already weaving its intricate web. At the edge of the same forest, near an abandoned mill overtaken by nature's reclaiming touch, Torin emerged from the shadows. With rugged features chiseled by hardship and a wild glimmer in his eyes, he was the embodiment of a renegade spirit among his kind, a werewolf shifter whose soul was as untamed as the wind. His heavy boots disturbed the fallen leaves, and each measured step resonated with a quiet strength and an unspoken sorrow. For Torin carried a curse, a malediction that condemned him to a life of isolation and inner torment. Their worlds collided when Era's path, illuminated by the silver glow of the moon, crossed with Torin's as he crouched beside a stream. The water, sparkling like fractured starlight, mirrored the conflicted emotions in his eyes, a mixture of pain and hope. In that moment, as their eyes met, an electric current of recognition passed between them. It was as if the ancient call of the wild had summoned them to this very intersection of destiny. "Who are you?" Torin's voice was low and resonant, carrying a tone that was both wary and curious. His question was less a greeting and more an inquiry into the soul that dared approach him. Era paused, her heart pounding in her chest. "I am Era," she replied softly, her voice steady despite the rapid thrum of her pulse. "I follow the call of the earth and the whispers of those who came before me." Her eyes flickered with both caution and wonder as she took in the sight of the mysterious man before her. Torin's gaze lingered on her, as if trying to decipher an enigma woven into her very being. "Era," he murmured, the name escaping, his lips like a secret. "I have roamed these lands, shunned by my own kind and cursed by a fate I cannot escape. But tonight, fate seems to have granted me a glimpse of something different." The tension in the air thickened with every word exchanged. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, its ancient trees standing as silent witnesses to this profound encounter. As the conversation unfolded, Era's intuition told her that Torin's presence was no accident. It was the beginning of a journey that would redefine both their lives. Under the sprawling canopy of stars, the two found themselves drawn into a dialogue that transcended the boundaries of the mundane. Torin revealed fragments of his tragic past, a legacy of betrayal, and the heavy burden of a curse that had isolated him from both human and shifter communities. His voice trembled slightly when he spoke of the night when he was cast out by his own pack, forced into solitude by the unyielding laws of an ancient order that he could no longer abide. "I was once a protector," Torin confessed, his eyes darkening with memories of a time when honor and loyalty defined him. "But a betrayal so deep turned that honor into a prison. Now every full moon reminds me of that irreversible night. A night when I lost not only my pack, but also the hope of redemption." His admission was raw and laden with regret, resonating deeply with Era, whose own life was marred by family secrets and painful betrayals. Era, whose heart had weathered many storms, felt a kinship with this troubled soul. "We all bear scars from the past," she said, her voice both compassionate and resolute. "Sometimes our pain becomes the foundation for transformation. Perhaps in our union, we can find solace and strength to confront the shadows that haunt us." Their conversation shifted to a delicate exchange of philosophies, of duty, of the fine line between destiny and free will, and of the sacrifices demanded by both. As the night deepened, the forest itself seemed to murmur in agreement, its leaves rustling in a language only the initiated could understand. Amid their words, a subtle promise was made, a pledge to explore the possibility of healing each other's wounds, even if it meant confronting the darkest corners of their souls. While they spoke, an eerie wind began to stir, carrying with it a foreboding message from the old gods. In the distance, a haunting howl echoed, a sound that was both mournful and menacing. It was as if the land itself was warning them of an imminent threat, a danger rooted in the ancient lore of the shifters and the dark forces that lurked beyond the veil of mortal comprehension. Torin's eyes narrowed. That sound. It heralds something ominous. I sense a disturbance in the natural order, a resurgence of an ancient enemy that has long been forgotten. His tone was grave, laced with a fear that was rarely visible in his otherwise stoic demeanor. Era's mind raced with possibilities. Could this be related to the mysterious curse that bound Torin? Or was it a harbinger of a greater conflict? One that would force them to confront forces beyond their control. "We must be cautious," she advised, her voice firm yet gentle. "The land speaks to us, warning of a threat that may unravel the fragile balance we've managed to preserve." Before they could dwell further on these ominous signs, a sudden rustle in the underbrush shattered the fragile silence. Both, Era and Torin, instinctively tensed, their senses on high alert. Out of the darkness emerged a lone figure, a young woman clad in a faded cloak, her eyes wide with terror. Her voice, quivering with urgency, pierced the night air. "Please, help me," she pleaded, her tone desperate. "There's something terrible that's been unleashed, and I fear it will consume us all if we do not act quickly." In that charged moment, the unspoken bond between Ira and Torin crystallized into a shared purpose. Without a word, they exchanged a glance, a silent agreement to set aside their personal turmoils for the greater good. The young woman's presence signified the beginning of an ordeal that would test the limits of their strength, their loyalty, and their resolve to defy a destiny marred by betrayal and darkness. As the trio gathered around a flickering campfire beneath the ancient trees, the night sky above bore witness to a convergence of fates. Era listened intently as the frightened stranger recounted a tale of an ancestral enemy, long thought to be vanquished, now stirring from its slumber with a vengeance. Rumors of forbidden rituals, hidden relics, and a betrayal that had rippled through generations filled the air, adding layers of complexity to an already tangled narrative. Torin, whose heart beat with a mix of hope and dread, leaned forward. "If this enemy is truly rising, then our pasts may be more intertwined than we ever imagined. Perhaps my curse, the isolation I have endured, was not a punishment, but a preparation for this very moment." His words, filled with a melancholic determination, resonated with the core of Era's beliefs, that every soul, no matter how burdened, carries the potential for redemption. The fire crackled, its sparks dancing like fleeting memories of lost dreams as Era contemplated the gravity of their situation. Her mind swirled with conflicting emotions, the budding attraction to the enigmatic Alpha, the weight of her responsibility to her people, and the haunting echoes of her own familial secrets. "We stand on the precipice of an uncertain future," she murmured, gazing into the flames as if they held the answers to her unspoken questions. "But perhaps it is within the heart of uncertainty that we find the courage to rewrite our destinies." Their conversation was interrupted by another unexpected sound, a distant, rhythmic drumming that reverberated through the ground like the beating of a colossal heart. The stranger's eyes widened in horror. "That is the sound of the ancient rites," she whispered. "It means that the enemy is gathering its strength as we speak." In that electrifying moment, every instinct screamed that the calm of the twilight was giving way to a storm of chaos and destiny. Torin's hand instinctively moved toward the pendant hidden beneath his shirt, a relic passed down through generations, said to contain the spirit of a long-dead warrior. "This symbol," he said, holding it up so that the firelight could reveal its intricate carvings, "represents both our past and the hope for our future. It is a reminder that even in the face of insurmountable odds, there exists a spark that can ignite the flame of redemption." As the night wore on and the trio huddled together, sharing whispered plans and the weight of impending danger, the forest seemed to close in around them. Shadows danced at the periphery of their vision, and every rustle of leaves was laden with the promise of revelation or ruin. In those moments, Era felt the pull of destiny tighten around her heart, a magnetic force urging her to embrace the challenges ahead, no matter the cost. The scene culminated in an unspoken vow, to confront the dark forces of the past, and to forge a future where love and redemption might prevail against even the cruelest of curses. Yet, as the wind shifted and the distant drumming grew louder, the promise of salvation teetered on the edge of despair. Would their combined strength be enough to defy the ancient enemies stirring in the depths of the wilderness? Or was their union doomed to become yet another chapter in a long saga of betrayal and unfulfilled destiny? In the midst of this uncertainty, the trio braced themselves for the journey ahead, their eyes reflecting the myriad emotions of hope, fear, and defiance. The night was far from over, and as the first hints of dawn began to color the horizon with a tentative glow, a chilling realization set in. The true test of their fates was only just beginning. The first rays of dawn crept through the dense canopy, illuminating the shadowed remnants of the forest and casting long, trembling silhouettes upon the dew-kissed ground. In the midst of this early morning light, Era and Torin prepared to embark on the next stage of their journey. The tension from the previous night lingered like a persistent echo, a reminder that the darkness they had faced was only a precursor to the trials yet to come. After the unsettling encounter with the frightened stranger, the trio had sought refuge in a secluded clearing. Here, ancient stone structures, remnants of a once thriving ritual site, stood silently as guardians of forgotten secrets. The air was cool, and every rustle of the wind seemed to whisper the hidden truths of centuries past. Era's mind was a maelstrom of thoughts. She recalled the cryptic stories passed down by her elders about an ancestral enemy and the mysterious relic that Torin now guarded. The interplay of fear and hope stirred within her, drawing her ever closer to unraveling the mysteries that bound their fates. Torin, whose rugged exterior belied the depth of his inner turmoil, paced restlessly near a weathered stone altar. His hand, still clutching the ancient pendant, trembled as memories of betrayal and loss surged within him. "There's more to this curse than I ever dared imagine," he murmured, his voice low and laden with regret. "Every step I take, every shadow I pass, reminds me of the night I was cast out. A night when loyalty turned to dust and honor was buried beneath the weight of treachery." At that moment, Era approached him, her eyes reflecting the fierce determination of someone who had seen both the beauty and cruelty of fate. "Torin," she said softly, placing a gentle hand on his arm, "we must learn from our past if we are to forge a new destiny. The secrets you carry, the pain that haunts you, they are not solely your burden. Together, we have the power to challenge the course that has been written for us." Her words, infused with an unyielding resolve, seemed to momentarily soothe the storm raging within him. Their conversation was soon interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching, a measured cadence that disrupted the stillness of the morning. Emerging from between the trees was a man of dignified bearing, his features marked by wisdom and a hint of sorrow. He introduced himself as Elijah, a keeper of ancient lore and a guardian of the hidden sanctuaries that bridged the modern world and the realm of the supernatural. "I have been expecting you," Elijah said, his voice steady yet imbued with an air of mystery. "The signs have been clear in the omens of nature. It is time that you learn of the truth that binds your destinies." Elijah led them to a secluded grove where symbols carved into weathered stones told stories of a forgotten era. As they gathered around the enigmatic carvings, he began to recount a narrative that spanned generations, a tale of feuds, forbidden love, and a curse born out of treachery. "Long ago," he intoned, "there was a sacred pact between the guardians of nature and the shifters, a covenant that promised protection in exchange for loyalty. But when ambition overpowered trust, a betrayal shattered that pact, and with it, the very fabric of harmony. The curse that now afflicts you, Torin, is a remnant of that broken bond, a punishment for a transgression that echoes through time." Ira listened intently, her mind piecing together fragments of lore that resonated with the secrets of her own lineage. She recalled the whispered warnings of her grandmother about the dark history of their family, hints of betrayal that had been concealed beneath layers of tradition and silence. "So our fates are intertwined by more than mere chance," she said, her tone a mix of awe and apprehension. "We are connected by a legacy of loss and longing, a legacy that demands redemption." Elijah nodded in agreement. "Indeed," he said. "The relic you carry, Torin, is not merely a symbol of your curse. It is also the key to unlocking the redemption that has been foretold. But the path to salvation is fraught with peril. You must journey to the heart of the ancient lands, a place where modernity gives way to the primal, and where the boundaries between the living and the spirit world blur." Torin's eyes flickered with both fear and determination. "What awaits us there?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Can we truly confront the sins of the past and rewrite our destiny?" Elijah's gaze was unwavering as he replied, "In that realm, the truth will be revealed, and every secret will come to light. But be warned, the price of truth is often steep, and the path to redemption is paved with both hope and sacrifice." His words hung heavy in the air, each syllable a portent of the trials that lay ahead. With a newfound sense of purpose, the trio set out on their journey. Their path led them away from the familiar edges of the forest and into the heart of a modern city, a vibrant metropolis where ancient tradition still whispered through the cracks of concrete and steel. Neon lights intermingled with the timeless glow of street lamps, and the hum of urban life was punctuated by the echoes of forgotten rituals. It was a realm where the supernatural coexisted with the everyday, each influencing the other in subtle, mysterious ways. As they navigated the bustling streets, Era's senses were on high alert. She noticed how the city, with its gleaming skyscrapers and crowded avenues, seemed to hide its own secrets beneath layers of modernity. In a small, inconspicuous bookstore nestled between towering structures, they found a trove of ancient manuscripts and cryptic texts, documents that spoke of lost rituals, ancestral curses, and the enduring power of redemption. Ira and Torin spent hours poring over these texts, deciphering symbols and passages that hinted at the location of the fabled sanctuary where the relic's true power might be unlocked. Amid the scholarly pursuit, moments of lightness punctuated their otherwise intense journey. In a brief respite at a quaint cafe, filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the murmur of quiet conversations, Torin allowed himself a rare smile. "I remember a time when I believed in honor and trust," he confessed, his eyes reflecting a wistful nostalgia. "Back then, the bonds between us were unbreakable. Now I am burdened by a past that refuses to be forgotten." His admission, both vulnerable and raw, deepened the connection between him and Era. "You do not have to bear that weight alone," Era reassured him gently. "Every scar tells a story, and sometimes those stories can lead us to the healing we seek. We are more than the sum of our sorrows." Her words, like a balm, soothed the lingering pain in his heart and kindled a spark of hope, a fragile light in the overwhelming darkness of his curse. Their path eventually led them to the outskirts of the city, where the urban sprawl gave way to untamed wilderness once again. Here, at the threshold of an ancient burial ground long rumored to be sacred, the atmosphere shifted palpably. The ground beneath their feet felt charged with energy, and the air vibrated with a mix of anticipation and dread. Ancient trees, gnarled and majestic, formed a natural cathedral, their branches intertwined as if in silent communion with the past. It was in this hallowed place that they encountered a figure whose presence was as enigmatic as the legends that surrounded the site. Clad in ceremonial attire and marked with symbols that glowed faintly in the twilight, the figure introduced herself as Seraphine, a custodian of the ancient rites and the last living witness to the traditions that had once bound the shifters and their kin. "I have awaited your arrival," Seraphine said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "You stand at the crossroads of destiny. To unlock the true power of the relic, you must confront the echoes of your ancestors and the betrayal that lies hidden in your blood." Her words struck a chord within both Era and Torin, stirring memories and emotions long suppressed. As Seraphine began a solemn recitation of an incantation, The ground trembled lightly, and the air shimmered with an ethereal glow. The ancient texts they had studied suddenly made sense, each symbol and passage now resonating with a deeper significance. In that transformative moment, Era realized that the relic was not merely a curse. It was a beacon of hope, a conduit through which the past could be reconciled with the present. As twilight gave way to night, the clearing became a stage for revelations. Seraphine guided them through a series of rituals designed to unveil the hidden truths of their intertwined destinies. With each step, the layers of deception and betrayal began to peel away, exposing raw truths that had been buried for generations. Torin was forced to confront the painful memory of his exile, a moment when the bonds of loyalty were shattered by deceit, leaving him with a curse that had become both a prison and a path to redemption. In one of the most poignant moments of the evening, Torin faced his reflection in a pool of still water. The image that stared back was a man tormented by his past, yet determined to carve a future of hope. "I cannot escape what I have done," he admitted quietly, his voice trembling with a mixture of sorrow and determination. "But perhaps in accepting my past, I can find the strength to forge a new beginning." His confession, raw and sincere, resonated deeply with Era, who had long carried the burden of her own family's hidden transgressions. Their dialogue grew more intense as the night deepened. Between whispered vows and tearful revelations, the trio pieced together the puzzle of the curse and the ancient feud that had set their lives on an irrevocable course. Ira, ever the pillar of compassion, assured them that the road to redemption was rarely straightforward. "We may be scarred by our histories," she said, her voice filled with both resolve and tenderness, "but it is in the process of healing that we truly become whole." As the rituals reached their crescendo, the supernatural forces surrounding the site began to stir. The ground beneath the ancient stones pulsed with a rhythmic energy, and the air crackled with the promise of transformation. In that moment, Seraphine revealed a final, shocking truth. The betrayal that had haunted Torin's lineage was inextricably linked to Era's own family secrets. The two destinies, once thought separate, were now revealed to be two threads, woven by the same fateful hand. "You see," Seraphine intoned, "the curse was not meant to be a punishment solely for one, but a shared burden, a legacy of betrayal that can only be undone through the union of hearts that have been torn apart by time." The revelation struck them with the force of a tidal wave. Torin's eyes widened in disbelief as he realized that the betrayal he had borne all these years was also the key to Era's destiny. For Era, the disclosure was a moment of painful clarity, a revelation that explained the inexplicable ties binding her to the troubled shifter. In the charged silence that followed, the three stood on the precipice of a decision that would change their lives forever. The ancient energies swirled around them, urging them to take the leap into an uncertain future, where forgiveness, redemption, and love could conquer the shadows of the past. Every heartbeat was a reminder that the true test of their resolve was only beginning. In that profound moment of reckoning, Era reached out, intertwining her hand with Torin's as if to seal a pact not only with him, but with the very forces of destiny. "We will face this together," she declared, her voice resonant and unwavering. "The past may be filled with betrayal and sorrow, but our future holds the promise of healing." Her words, simple yet potent, echoed through the ancient grove, binding them in a unity that defied the weight of history. As the night yielded to the first light of a new day, the air was charged with a sense of rebirth and the dawning of a long-awaited transformation. The secrets that had haunted them for so long now lay bare, and the path to redemption, though steep and uncertain, shimmered with the possibility of a future reimagined. With hearts emboldened by truth and a newfound commitment to their shared destiny, Ira and Torin stepped forward into the unknown, each step a defiant declaration against the forces of fate that had long dictated their lives. In that quiet moment before the sun ascended fully, the promise of change was palpable, a tender refrain echoing through the ancient trees and modern streets alike. Their journey, marked by both the agony of past betrayals and the fervor of a love destined to heal, had only just begun. The legacy of secrets and redemption was now theirs to rewrite, and as they ventured onward, a sense of purpose filled every fiber of their being, a purpose defined by courage, truth, and the unyielding pursuit of renewal. Beneath a sky brushed with the fading hues of twilight, Aira, Tauren, and their enigmatic guide Seraphine advanced into the heart of an ancient forest. The trees here towered like silent sentinels, their twisted roots tangled beneath mossy carpets and the lingering whispers of old magic. This secluded glen was known only to those who dared seek the truths hidden in legends, a crucible where past sins and future hopes merged into a single tumultuous present. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very essence of the forest held its breath. Tauren, still burdened by the revelations of his lineage, led the group along a winding, leaf-strewn path. His eyes, reflecting both steely determination and the ghosts of past betrayals, scanned the surroundings for any sign of danger. Meanwhile, Aira's steps were measured, her mind buzzing with the implications of Seraphine's words, the intertwining of her family's secrets with Tauren's cursed fate. Every step they took was a step toward the unknown, where every shadow might conceal both a threat and an answer. As they journeyed deeper, the forest grew denser, the trees closing in around them like a natural amphitheater. The rhythmic sound of their footsteps and the distant call of a nightbird set a somber, almost meditative tone. Seraphine's voice broke the silence at intervals, softly recounting tales of ancient pacts, forbidden alliances, and the cyclical nature of fate. Here in this hallowed place, the scars of time are etched in every bark and stone, she intoned. Let your hearts open to the echoes of the past, for it is only by understanding them that you can shape a future free of their weight. They reached a clearing where a large stone arch, overgrown with ivy and luminescent fungi, marked the entrance to a hidden sanctuary. The structure exuded an aura of mysticism and solemnity, a gateway between the realms of mortal existence and the domain of old spirits. Tauren stepped forward first, his hand grazing the cool, damp surface of the stone as memories of ancient rites surged through him. "This is where our ancestors once gathered," he murmured, his voice resonating with both reverence and a hint of fear. "It is here that the balance between light and darkness was maintained." Aira's gaze lingered on the intricate carvings adorning the arch, symbols that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "These are not mere decorations," she observed, tracing a delicate pattern with her fingertips. "They tell a story of sacrifice, of trust betrayed, and of a hope that refused to die." Her words were soft yet imbued with the strength of conviction, a determination to unearth the truth hidden behind every etching. In the midst of this profound exploration, an unexpected sound shattered the quiet, a series of rapid, measured footsteps echoing through the clearing. The trio tensed, instinctively turning toward the disturbance. Emerging from the thicket was a figure clad in dark, flowing garments and bearing an air of controlled urgency. His eyes, sharp and discerning, flickered with recognition upon seeing the ancient arch. "I am Marcus," he declared, his tone both commanding and earnest. "I have long guarded these secrets, watching over the passages between realms. I come with a warning and an offer of guidance." Tauren exchanged a wary glance with Aira, while Seraphine's expression remained inscrutable. Marcus explained that his lineage was tied to the custodianship of these sacred sites, a duty passed down through generations, now threatened by a malevolent force stirring in the depths of the forest. "There is a rift in the balance," Marcus warned, his voice low and resonant. "A malignant presence that seeks to exploit the ancient pacts and shatter the harmony between our worlds. Its influence is already seeping into the land, corrupting the very essence of nature." The gravity of his words sank in, intensifying the resolve that had taken root in each of them. Aira felt the familiar weight of responsibility on her shoulders, not only to her people, but to the land that had nurtured countless generations before her. "What must we do?" she asked, her voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling around them. Marcus's eyes met hers with a mixture of determination and caution. "You must journey to the heart of shadows, a hidden sanctum where the fabric of reality is thinnest," he explained. "There, the malignant force has been gathering strength, fueled by the remnants of betrayal and despair. Only by confronting it directly can you hope to restore the balance and, perhaps, unlock the true power of the relic you bear, Tauren." Tauren's grip tightened around the pendant that hung from his neck, a talisman that had come to symbolize both his curse and his hope for redemption. I have spent years in solitude, believing that isolation was my only destiny, he confessed, his voice a mixture of pain and resolve. But if this relic holds the key to undoing the curse, then I must face whatever lies at the heart of shadows. Marcus nodded, stepping closer to the stone arch as if to merge with the ancient energy emanating from it. Your journey will not be easy, he cautioned. The heart of shadows is guarded by forces that feed on fear and regret. It is a place where your deepest insecurities will be laid bare. Yet within that darkness, there lies an opportunity to reclaim what has been lost and to reshape your destiny. As the group stood before the arch, the air around them began to shimmer with a palpable energy, and the ancient symbols seemed to glow more intensely. The night was now deep and impenetrable, yet the sanctuary exuded a warmth that belied the foreboding aura of its purpose. With a collective breath, they stepped through the arch and into the hidden sanctum. Inside, the atmosphere was otherworldly, a labyrinth of dim corridors and vaulted chambers, each corner illuminated by the soft luminescence of bioluminescent moss and ethereal light. The walls were inscribed with murals depicting epic battles between light and darkness, scenes of sacrifice, and moments of transcendent unity. Every image told a story, a fragment of a larger narrative that spanned centuries and echoed the struggles of those who had come before. In one chamber, they encountered a vast mural that portrayed a union between two figures, one marked by wild, unbridled power, and the other exuding an aura of gentle healing. The resemblance to Torin and Era was unmistakable. Era's eyes widened as she traced the figures with trembling fingers. "This is our story," she whispered, a mix of awe and apprehension in her tone. A story of two souls destined to mend the rifts created by betrayal and sorrow. Torin stood silently beside her, the weight of the revelation etched into every line of his face. "For so long, I believed my curse was an immutable fate," he admitted, his voice barely audible above the ambient hum of the sanctum. "But perhaps it was all meant to lead me to this very moment, to a chance at redemption that transcends the boundaries of what I once thought possible." Marcus, who had been silently observing their reaction, interjected with a measured calmness. "The mural is both a prophecy and a reminder," he said. "It tells you that redemption is not given freely. It must be fought for, often at great personal cost. The journey to the heart of shadows will force you to confront not only the external darkness that threatens the balance, but also the inner demons that have long haunted you." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden tremor that reverberated through the chamber, a subtle yet insistent shaking that seemed to emanate from deep within the sanctum. The walls quivered, and the murals flickered as if caught in a moment of struggle between stability and collapse. "The malignant force is near," Seraphine declared, her voice rising in urgency. "It is reacting to your presence, testing your resolve. We must move quickly if we are to overcome it." Without hesitation, the group pressed on, navigating narrow passageways that led deeper into the sanctum. The corridors twisted unpredictably, and the further they ventured, the more palpable the sense of dread became. In moments of silence, each step echoed like a heartbeat, an internal metronome counting down to an inevitable confrontation. As they approached a cavernous chamber at the very core of the sanctum, the air grew colder, and a palpable darkness began to seep into the light. The chamber's entrance was flanked by towering stone pillars carved with ancient runes, and in its center lay an altar shrouded in a spectral glow. It was here, Marcus explained in a hushed tone, that the malignant force had taken root, a corruption of energies once pure, now twisted by betrayal and despair. Torin's pulse quickened as he stepped toward the altar, the pendant around his neck pulsing in synchrony with his heartbeat. "This is where I must confront my past," he murmured, his gaze fixed on the altar as if it held the mirror to his soul. Era moved to his side, her hand finding his in a gesture of solidarity and unwavering support. "Together we face what has long haunted us," she declared, her voice resolute and tender. The moment of confrontation arrived swiftly. From the shadows emerged a swirling mass of dark energy, its form shifting and ambiguous, a manifestation of the collective anguish and treachery that had festered over generations. The malignant force seemed almost sentient, its presence a suffocating reminder of all the pain and betrayal that had led to this climactic moment. A low, resonant hum filled the chamber as the dark energy coalesced, drawing closer with an inexorable pull. Marcus and Seraphine began to chant in a language older than time, their voices rising in a harmonious yet urgent cadence. The runes on the pillars began to glow fiercely, casting a spectral light that battled the encroaching darkness. In that charged atmosphere, every emotion was amplified: the hope for redemption, the dread of inevitable loss, and the fierce determination to break the chains of a cursed legacy. Torin stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tumult of emotions swirling within him. "I have lived in the shadow of betrayal for too long," he declared. "No longer will I allow my past to dictate my future. Today, I reclaim the honor and love that have been stolen from me." His words, laced with both sorrow and defiant strength, resonated through the chamber. The dark energy writhed as if struck by the force of his conviction. Era, standing close by, added, "Our love is not a weakness. It is our strength. It bridges the gap between light and darkness, forging a path to healing that is as fierce as it is tender." Her declaration, heartfelt and resolute, seemed to momentarily dispel the oppressive aura that had gripped the chamber. As the malignant force surged forward, an unexpected shift occurred. The pendant that had symbolized Torin's curse began to radiate a pure, vibrant light, a beacon that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. The spectral glow spread outward, enveloping both Torin and Era in its luminous embrace. The dark energy recoiled, its form destabilizing as it encountered this newfound radiance. In that instant, the chamber was transformed into a battleground of light and shadow, a crucible where the future would be forged from the remnants of a shattered past. Marcus and Seraphine continued their incantations with renewed fervor, their voices merging with the pulsating energy of the relic. The runes blazed brighter, and the stone pillars vibrated with an ancient power that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the earth itself. The malignant force, now visibly weakening, shrieked in a cacophony that reverberated off every stone surface. Its dark tendrils thrashed in a desperate bid to reclaim its dominance. But the combined strength of Torin's reclaimed honor and Era's healing compassion proved overwhelming. In the final moments of the confrontation, as the malignant force dissipated into motes of darkness, a profound silence fell over the chamber, a silence filled with both relief and the bittersweet echoes of sacrifice. Torin, standing before the now dim altar, exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of his curse lifting, replaced by the tender warmth of hope and redemption. Era squeezed his hand gently, sharing in the unspoken promise that together they had begun to mend not only their own hearts but the fractured tapestry of their intertwined destinies. The chamber's atmosphere shifted from one of foreboding conflict to a serene calm. The ancient runes softened their glow, and the oppressive energy that had once threatened to engulf them was now reduced to a gentle reminder of the journey they had overcome. Marcus and Seraphine exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement that this victory, though significant, was but one step on a much larger path toward restoring balance. As the group gathered in the quiet aftermath, a sense of unity and purpose prevailed. Every scar, every wound born of past betrayals, now served as a testament to their resilience and the transformative power of love. The dark legacy that had haunted Torin and Era was being rewritten, an ongoing narrative where redemption was earned through sacrifice, forgiveness, and the courage to confront one's deepest fears. Standing at the threshold of the sanctum, where the shadows of the past receded before the promise of a new dawn, Era looked at Torin with quiet determination. "We have faced the darkness together," she said softly. "Now, it is time to embrace the light that follows and to forge a future where our love heals the wounds of our families and our land." Her words, gentle yet unyielding, carried the weight of all they had endured. Torin, his gaze steady and filled with a renewed sense of purpose, nodded in silent agreement. "Today marks the beginning of our true journey," he replied, his voice imbued with both solemnity and hope. "The curse may have defined our past, but it will no longer dictate our future." In that moment, amidst the fading echoes of ancient conflict, they stood united, ready to step into a destiny reimagined, where the bonds of love and redemption would triumph over even the darkest legacies. In the hush of pre-dawn, When the veil between night and day is at its most fragile, the final chapter of their arduous journey began. Aira, Torin, Marcus, Seraphine, and even Elijah, whom they had encountered briefly along the way, gathered at the precipice of an ancient clearing, a sacred ground that shimmered with an ethereal radiance. The air was heavy with expectancy and the promise of absolution. For here, at the heart of shadows, the final truth was destined to unfold. Every step toward the clearing felt like an exhalation of collective hope and trepidation. The land beneath their feet bore the scars of countless battles between light and darkness, a testament to the centuries-old conflict that had defined their families and their fates. Amid the interplay of luminous mists and lingering shadows, the group circled an enormous stone dais engraved with symbols of forgotten gods and ancestral oaths. The dais pulsed with an almost imperceptible heartbeat, as if it were alive and aware of the souls assembled before it. Torin's grip on the radiant pendant, now a blazing beacon of reclaimed honor, tightened as he took a tentative step forward. "This is it," he murmured, his voice trembling with the weight of destiny and the lingering pain of his past. "The moment when we must confront the final secret of our lineage." His eyes met Aira's, and in that silent exchange, an unspoken, understanding passed between them. Whatever revelations lay ahead would forever alter the fabric of their lives. Aira's heart pounded in time with the rhythmic pulse of the dais, each beat echoing the memories of betrayals long endured and the hope of a future unburdened by curses. "Our ancestors wove a tapestry of love and treachery, of honor and deceit," she said softly. "Tonight, we unravel that tapestry to find the truth, and perhaps the redemption we so desperately seek." Her words carried both sorrow and resolve, a declaration that she was prepared to face the darkness head-on for the sake of healing. Marcus and Seraphine exchanged knowing glances as they stepped aside, forming a protective arc around the dais. With a deliberate calm, Marcus began reciting an incantation passed down through his lineage, a prayer meant to summon the ancient spirits that guarded the balance between realms. His deep resonant voice melded with the whispers of the wind, each syllable stirring the energies that bound the past and the present. Seraphine's counter-melody, soft yet insistent, wove through his words, amplifying the incantation with the mystique of her own sacred rites. As the ancient chant filled the clearing, the radiant light of Torin's pendant surged upward, casting intricate patterns across the stone surface. The symbols engraved on the dais began to glow with an intense, otherworldly brilliance, and a low hum vibrated through the earth. Suddenly, the air trembled as if the very heavens were stirring, and the first signs of transformation rippled across the clearing. Out of the luminous radiance emerged a spectral figure, a vision of an ethereal being clothed in shifting hues, of silver and blue. Its eyes, deep and ageless, radiated both sorrow and benevolence. "I am Alaron," the spirit intoned, its voice a harmonious blend of every language ever spoken in the ancient lands. "I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth of curses and the redemption of souls. Tonight, I bring you the revelation that has been hidden in the folds of time." The group fell silent as Alaron's presence filled the clearing with a palpable energy. The spirit's gaze rested on Torin and Aira, lingering on the intertwining of their destinies. "Torin, you have borne the weight of your curse as both a punishment and a guide," Alaron continued. "Yet, what you believed to be a curse was never meant to imprison you. It was a beacon, a call to the one destined to mend what was broken." The spirit's tone was both accusatory and compassionate, as though addressing a long-forgiven transgression. Aira stepped forward, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and determination. "Then tell us," she implored. "What is the truth we must embrace? How do we mend this ancient wound and reclaim the future that has been stolen from us by betrayal?" Alaron's eyes glimmered as he revealed the final twist of fate, a truth that shattered all preconceived notions and resolved every lingering conflict in a single, breathtaking moment. "The curse that has defined your past, Torin, and the secret that binds your soul to Aira's lineage, is not an act of divine retribution, but a desperate measure of protection. Centuries ago, in a time when the forces of darkness threatened to consume all that was good, your ancestors forged a covenant with the spirits. In that covenant, the legacy of betrayal was intertwined with a promise that if ever the malignant force arose again, the descendants of that bond would have the power to restore balance. The curse was a shield, a double-edged sword, that ensured only true love and redemption could unlock the strength to repel the ancient evil. A hush fell over the clearing as Alaron's words sunk in. Torin's eyes widened in dawning realization. So all of this, my isolation, my suffering, it was all preparing me for this very moment? He asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. Yes, Alaron affirmed, his tone gentle yet unyielding. The seemingly endless torment was the crucible in which your strength was forged. And Era, your unwavering compassion and determination were the keys to unlocking the redemption that lies dormant within this legacy. Your union was predestined, not to curse you further, but to empower you both to heal the wounds of your past and to usher in a new era of balance between the realms. Marcus, visibly moved by the revelation, stepped forward. Then the betrayal that once tore apart your family histories was, in truth, a necessary sacrifice, a painful lesson to be overcome. Our suffering was the price for safeguarding a secret that now, with your love, can be transformed into hope. His words resonated with the group, a final benediction to the myriad hardships they had faced. Seraphine's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she added, "The legacy of darkness that haunted us was not the end but the catalyst for our ascension. In embracing the truth, you break the cycle of despair and rewrite the destiny of your bloodlines." Her voice, filled with both emotion and certainty, lent an air of finality to the ancient pact that had been in motion for generations. As Alaron's spectral form began to dissolve into motes of shimmering light, the clearing seemed to exhale, a collective sigh of relief as the malignant force receded into the annals of history. The pulsating glow of the dais gradually softened, its radiance now a gentle reminder of the balance that had been restored. Torin's pendant, once a symbol of his cursed isolation, now blazed with a pure light, its brilliance a tangible testament to the power of redemption and the unbreakable bond between him and Ira. In the profound silence that followed, Ira turned to Torin, her voice filled with tender determination. "Our journey was not in vain," she said. "Every scar, every betrayal, has led us to this moment of clarity. We have not only freed ourselves from the chains of the past, but have also paved the way for a future where our love will serve as the beacon for all who seek redemption." Her words, resolute and filled with hope, embraced the truth of their intertwined fates. Torin, overcome with emotion, stepped closer and gently caressed her cheek. "I understand now," he replied, his voice raw and sincere. "Our suffering was not a curse to be borne alone, but a lesson that united our destinies. In loving you, I have found the strength to forgive the past and to embrace a future defined by hope and renewal." His declaration, a powerful blend of vulnerability and courage, reverberated across the clearing, sealing the covenant that had been set in motion long ago. The ancient energy of the clearing seemed to celebrate their union, as if the very earth itself rejoiced in the newfound harmony. Marcus and Seraphine, their roles as custodians of ancient wisdom fulfilled, offered one final nod of approval before quietly receding into the background, their mission complete. Even Elijah's brief presence lingered like a cherished memory, a reminder that every encounter, every sacrifice had led to this moment of ascension. In the aftermath of the revelation, the once oppressive legacy of betrayal melted away like morning mist under the warmth of a rising sun. The sacred clearing, bathed in the soft glow of dawn, bore witness to the transformation not only of Torin and Era, but of an entire lineage that had long been shackled by despair. Their love, forged in the crucible of pain and nurtured by the resilience of their spirits, had transcended the boundaries of curses and redefined the meaning of destiny. As the new day fully broke over the horizon, the group stood in quiet contemplation, each heart filled with a renewed sense of purpose and the promise of endless possibility. The secrets of the past had been laid bare and transformed into a legacy of light, a beacon that would guide future generations toward a path of healing and unity. In that transcendent moment, Aira and Torin embraced their roles as both survivors and harbingers of a new dawn. Their journey, replete with sorrow, betrayal, and hard-won redemption, had culminated in an epiphany that resolved every conflict and healed every wound. With hearts now unburdened and souls reborn, they stepped forward into a future where love would forever be the catalyst for change, a future written not in the ink of despair, but in the radiant light of hope. As the sun climbed higher into a sky brushed with vibrant hues of amber and cerulean, the remnants of the ancient curse and the weight of generations past finally began to dissipate. In the gentle light of a new day, Aira and Torin found themselves in a place where nature's splendor met the bustling heartbeat of the modern world, a secluded garden atop a historic mansion on the outskirts of a thriving city. This secret haven, once hidden behind a veil of ivy and mystery, had been passed down through Aira's family for centuries, a sanctuary where the convergence of mortal life and supernatural heritage was celebrated rather than feared. Stepping through a wrought iron gate overgrown with wild roses, the couple paused in a courtyard alive with the melodies of songbirds and the soft rustling of ancient trees. Every blossom, every stone, seemed to echo the triumphs and tribulations of the past, offering a silent benediction for the future that lay before them. Here, in this timeless refuge, they would confront the final chapter of their journey, a revelation that would not only heal the scars of betrayal, but also cement the legacy of their love. Torin, now unburdened by the oppressive shadow of his curse, gazed at Aira with a mixture of awe and quiet determination. "Every trial, every sorrow, has led us to this moment," he murmured, his voice resonant with newfound strength. "Our journey was more than a path to redemption. It was a calling to reshape the destiny of our families, to restore a balance long disrupted by ancient treachery." Aira, her eyes glistening with both unshed tears and resolute hope, squeezed his hand gently. "And yet, the truth we uncovered has left one mystery unanswered," she replied. "A secret that lurked at the edges of our understanding, a final twist that binds our fates together in ways we never imagined." Her tone carried the weight of both wonder and apprehension, as if the very air around them pulsed with the promise of one last, transformative encounter. Their conversation was interrupted by the soft sound of footsteps along a cobblestone path. From the shadows emerged a figure whose presence was both familiar and enigmatic, a person whose identity had been hinted at in fragmented memories and half-whispered legends. It was Elijah, the wise guardian they had met earlier on their journey, whose stoic silence had concealed a depth of knowledge that now beckoned a final revelation. His expression was solemn, etched with the lines of countless lifetimes. Yet, his eyes shone with a spark of hope as he approached the couple. "Aira, Torin," Elijah began, his voice measured and imbued with an ancient cadence. "The moment has arrived to confront the last vestige of our shared past, a truth that has been hidden in the folds of time, waiting for the courage of hearts like yours." He paused, letting his words hang in the warm air before continuing. "There is one final secret, one that even the ancient pacts could not fully contain. The malignant force you vanquished was not merely an external adversary. It was also the echo of a betrayal so profound that it was woven into the very fabric of our bloodlines." A ripple of uncertainty passed between Aira and Torin. They exchanged a glance heavy with both dread and determination, silently urging one another to brace for what was to come. Elijah's next words unraveled the mystery with a blend of sorrow and awe. "Centuries ago, during the tumult of forbidden alliances and desperate sacrifices, a fragment of that dark legacy was sealed away, not as a curse, but as a guardian. This guardian was meant to rise only when the cycle of betrayal had run its course, to reclaim the fragments of shattered trust and restore harmony between the realms." Before they could ask further, a figure emerged from the depths of the garden's labyrinthine hedges. A young woman cloaked in the shimmering light of dawn, her eyes mirroring the same fierce resolve found in Aira's. In a voice that trembled, with both the pain of memory and the promise of renewal, she spoke. "I am Leora, a descendant of the very bloodline that once faltered. For generations, my family has carried the weight of a secret sacrifice, a final act of penitence that was meant to atone for the betrayal which tore our kin apart. I have come not as an adversary, but as the final piece of our fractured puzzle, The revelation struck Era with an almost overwhelming clarity. Leora's presence explained the elusive echoes of an ancestral secret, a spectral imprint that had shadowed every step of their quest. "Your family," Era whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "was the key to this entire covenant. The sacrifice, the curse, and the promise of redemption, all were meant to converge in this very moment." Leora stepped forward, her gaze steady as she continued. "I was raised with the knowledge that one day, when the balance tipped too far into darkness, I would have to offer what remained of my lineage's penance. In that sacrifice lies the power to bind the rift between betrayal and redemption, to ensure that the legacy of our forebears is transformed into one of hope rather than despair." Her words resonated like a sacred oath, echoing off the ancient walls of the garden. As the sun's golden light bathed the courtyard, a palpable shift took place, a serene intermingling of past sorrows and future promise. Torin moved closer to Leora, his expression a blend of gratitude and a deep-seated understanding. "Your sacrifice, Leora, was never meant to be a burden," he said softly. "It was a measure of protection, a safeguard for us all. In embracing this truth, we not only mend the wounds of yesterday, but also pave the way for a future where the sins of the past no longer dictate the course of our destiny." Leora's eyes shone with a bittersweet mix of relief and determination. "The time has come to fulfill the covenant," she declared. "I offer the final piece of my soul as the seal to our redemption, a sacrifice that binds our families together, not in shame, but in the strength of shared renewal." Her voice trembled with both fear and resolve, aware that her act would not only extinguish the remnants of a malevolent force, but also mark the beginning of an era of unity between the realms of shifters and humans. In that transcendent moment, as the garden's ancient energy swirled around them like a benevolent embrace, Era stepped forward and placed a tender hand on Leora's shoulder. "Your sacrifice is not in vain," she assured, her words both soothing and powerful. "It will be remembered as the turning point, the moment when darkness yielded to the unyielding power of love and forgiveness." Torin, now a man transformed by both his trials and his capacity for profound compassion, reached out and clasped Leora's hand firmly. "In your selfless act, we see the reflection of all that is pure and hopeful," he said. "Let your light guide us as we build a future free from the chains of old betrayals, a future where every scar tells a story of resilience and every heart beats in unison for a common destiny." The air around them shimmered with an almost sacred luminescence as ancient forces stirred in response to this final act of atonement. The malignant echoes that had once threatened to unravel the bonds of their shared lineage now receded, replaced by a harmonious resonance that vibrated through every living thing. The garden, a living tapestry of history and hope, pulsed with renewed vitality, a symbol of the unity forged through sacrifice and love. Elijah, his eyes glistening with quiet satisfaction, nodded slowly. "The covenant is complete," he intoned. "Through your bravery, the cycle of betrayal has been transformed into a legacy of healing. Our families, our worlds are now bound by a truth that transcends time, a truth that promises unity, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to the betterment of all." As the sun ascended to its zenith, casting long, benevolent shadows across the courtyard, the long-awaited transformation was made manifest. The once turbulent energies that had haunted the bloodlines of shifters and humans alike were now replaced by a serene radiance, a reminder that every ending heralds a new beginning. The secret of ancient betrayal had been resolved not through retribution, but through an act of profound redemption, forging a bridge between two worlds that had long existed in a state of discord. In a final moment of quiet reflection, Era, Torin, and Leora gathered around an ancient stone fountain at the heart of the garden. The water, clear and endlessly reflective, mirrored their faces, a visual testament to the trials they had endured and the hope they now embraced. "This fountain," Era remarked softly, "represents the eternal flow of life, a cycle of loss, love, and renewal that never truly ends, but rather evolves into something greater with each passing moment." Torin smiled, his eyes filled with gratitude and a deep-seated peace. "Today, we honor not just our past, but the promise of our future," he declared. "Our union, our sacrifices, and our shared journey will serve as a beacon for all who struggle under the weight of old wounds. Let this be the beginning of an era where love triumphs over darkness, and where every heart, no matter how scarred, can find solace in the promise of tomorrow. Leora, her voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions, added, "May our story be told for generations to come, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of redemption can guide us toward a destiny reimagined, where unity and hope conquer all." In that profound moment, as the garden seemed to whisper its blessings and the sunlight danced upon the water, the trio sealed their promise with a silent, shared vow, a vow to nurture this newfound harmony and to honor the legacy of sacrifice that had set them free. And so, as the garden flourished under the watchful gaze of a benevolent sky, the once cursed lineage found its rightful place in a world reborn. The ancient wounds were healed through compassion, the bonds of betrayal transformed into ties of unbreakable unity, and the spirit of redemption echoed in every heartbeat, every breath, and every whispered promise of a future brimming with endless possibility. In that sacred sanctuary where nature, history, and modernity converged, the legacy of the past was rewritten, a legacy not defined by despair, but illuminated by the enduring power of love. The tale of Era, Tauren, and Leora became a timeless reminder that even the deepest scars can give rise to the most magnificent blossoms, and that true redemption lies in the courage to embrace our shared humanity and the boundless promise of a new dawn.